Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Lili Loves here,
And
part of the Eurovision
PTSD.
Fam. Yep, yep. And we're here with the Eurovision Fam Weekly Stream,
Hmm.
guys. It's our first stream since Eurovision, and I'm still riding that high of Eurovision just ended, y'all.
There's so much to talk about. There's so many things that were just so unexpected to just come absolutely out of nowhere from the
Mm-hmm.
Eurovision sphere. All kinds of news, including articles on the site. A lot's happened, you guys. We're just gonna go over that pretty quickly. Yeah.
Pretty quickly. We got an hour. We got a whole hour. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's hop into this. So, like you said, we have site articles.
Yeah.
We've got rounding up American Song Contest along with Eurovision because it's been that long since we last had our weekly stream.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go ahead and hop into this then. So
Sweet.
let's start with site articles. So on our site, we have a couple of feature pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We have one with Cornelia Jacobs that was written by Elda, and it's an accompaniment to the interview that Alicia Michelle did. I have links in the description box, and I'll also put a link up in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
There, that's what cards are. There we go. Yeah, above Jordan's head is where you'll find another link for it once we put it up to process.
Mm-hmm.
And in this article and in this interview, they kind of just discuss inspirations Cornelia has and the importance of loving music.
She used to be in a group. That really surprised me.
Yeah, like she was in a girl group before.
Yeah. I haven't listened to any of that music yet, but I'm pretty curious now.
I know it's gonna be early 2000s Swedish pop.
Super Swedish. It's gonna be super Swedish, I have a feeling.
It's gonna be a banger. I'm sorry, early 2000, early 2010s Swedish pop. Immaculate.
Caramel Dancing and Girls had that on lock.
Well, you do know who is one of the members of Carmel?
Who?
Dina Na.
Are you serious? I honestly did not know that.
100% serious.
Oh my god, there's no way Dina Na had influenced my life before I even knew what Melfest or Swedish media even was. But that's the truth.
If you want my Swedish pop diva who influenced my life before I got into Eurovision or Melfest, Nina Grönvall.
No, honestly though.
Because the way it happened is the most weeby, embarrassing way.
Dish.
Okay. All right. So back in 2006, her song was it 2000? Yeah, 2006. Her song that was going to be at that she went to Melfest with and came second at Melfest with. They should have sent her instead of Las Vegas. I'll Die on This Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Call on Mig was then used at an anime music video contest later on in that year in April at Anime Boston. I was at Anime Boston in the AMV. You're looking at me like I'm insane. This is a saga. So I was at Anime Boston at the AMV contest, and this AMV swept with a show no one was really watching called Princess Tutu. Why was no one watching Princess Tutu? It's called Princess Tutu, and it's a anime about magical girls who do ballet. It's amazing. One of my favorite shows of all time. It's one of my favorite anime of all time. You should totally watch it. So with this song that this person made this AMV to, it made it so that Nina Grönvall's Hall on Mig became a cult classic amongst anime fans.
No, honestly, I'm just thinking about Nina Grönvall's music and how it sounds like, and tell me that does not exactly fit in with an anime compilation.
Look it up. Just type in Princess Tutu Hall on Mig on YouTube, and you'll find it, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. We've got off on a tangent.
No, yeah, no, it's okay. I have that in my search bar. I'm gonna look that up later. But aside from that, you guys, Cornelia interview. That's how we go.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, she mentioned some of her inspirations being there. With it being, jazz music, 90s pop, mentioning Sting and the Cardigans, which 90s pop, again, the Swedes dominated that.
Yep.
Absolutely dominated that. Hello, Vanya. How are you?
Vanya, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Welcome. So yeah, and I thought another interesting thing was when she talked about transitioning Hold Me Closer from the Melfest stage, the Eurovision stage, and how they had to make adjustments to that because just Eurovision is so much bigger.
I would have loved for them to have a satellite stage, though, just like she was talking about with how she had that with Melfest and prefers to be in the crowd. I kind of wish that we got that, but at the same time, I don't feel like anything was really taken away by the final cut of the performance. I feel like it was still really, really well done.
Oh yeah, I still like. I was on mute the whole time I was watching that because I was just singing along. Because whenever I hear that song, I have to sing. I absolutely have to sing.
Yeah, it's the same.
All right, hello, Georgios.
Georgios, good to see you. Welcome back.
And Vanya, I don't get post Eurovision depression because I am in Eurovision all year round. And if you just go straight into Eurovision nonstop, you don't get PED. Like, honestly,
probably.
If you're someone who gets like post Eurovision depression, that would be a great time to like just explore older contests. Because like the content, like that's what I did. Like I think last year I went through and I just watched every single Eurovision contest. And I made like that's what I finally watched, every single one that you can watch. You can find most of them on YouTube. Also, you can find a lot of national finals on YouTube if you want to go back and like watch national finals from the 60s. There's some of them on there. You can find some Melfest from the 60s still. So yeah, that was the video we have with Cornelia. Again, link in the description box, and in the cards we'll have a video as well. Let's go ahead and go over to Stefan. Again, we had an interview with him that Alicia Michelle had done, and then we have the accompanying article as well that Elda did. And one of the things he mentioned is wanting to do a Armenian cover, like a traditional Armenian cover of Stefania.
That
and I was like,
sounded so cool to me. I was like, are you serious, Stefan? Because now we're waiting.
Now we're waiting. Exactly. That sounds like it would be a banger, an absolute banger. I would love to have that in my life. I liked his acoustic guitar cover he did, like he posted on TikTok. That was fantastic of Stefania, but I want an Armenian or like an Armenian version of that. And then he had like this whole story about like he was like playing guitar with his girlfriend and like playing traditional Armenian music, and I'm just like, that's so sweet. Like I love hearing stuff like that. So
yeah. No one's to say that he can't represent Armenia. I mean,
oh yeah, true. Also, he had to rework the staging. That was somebody, like, it was interesting how he mentioned he was one of the people affected by the sun and how they had to redo the staging because the staging was kind of focused on LEDs that couldn't be used anymore. And I think he really pulled it off there.
Shout out to the Estonians who were seated next to me in the second semifinal, and they were worried that would be something that he wouldn't, like a reason not for him to qualify. Y'all saw him make it. Good job. Congratulations to you. I hope the rest of your night was good.
Oh, I love to hear it. I'm sure they went out and partied. I'm sure there was a party.
They were ready. They were ready to party because they were like, we're not making it. And I was here with the flag of Cyprus, and I was like, I'm definitely making it.
We'll talk about that later. I have thoughts about that.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. And then the other article we kind of have is more brief. It's one for Kalush Orchestra. And one of the things that was discussed in the article is how they're using Eurovision as, a way of going with the war effort and making sure that, that is something that gives people who live, it's a reprise from that stuff. So,
and it's also like music is an awesome gate to allow people access into understanding political contexts that aren't just reading like a news article. It's describing the cultural implications of war and stuff like that. And being in this specific Eurovision year, experiencing the journey of Stefania, it is very pertinent. It's a really curious kind of dynamic that we see how Eurovision plays into the greater political sphere of geopolitical Europe. And I thought that was really interesting.
And like speaking of music, when it comes to this sort of thing, I've noticed, like I was watching NBC Nightly News a few weeks ago, and they were doing like there was a feature about Klaska on there, and I was like, okay, so I'm seeing a lot more like people, and I've had people even who don't follow Eurovision at all, but they know I listen to like a lot of music from all over the world, like asking about Ukrainian musicians and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, there's tons. Here's a long list of them to go listen to.
And they're so good.
I know. Like people don't believe me when I say like Ukraine has a great music scene.
They're like at top 3 my favorite like musical countries in Europe. It's just insane how much good music all those artists consistently put out.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah,
Ukraine's
up there. Norway used to be up there for me, but like, oh no, Rockskop came back, so maybe Norway's back up there for me. Sorry, I have thoughts about things. Yeah, but no, it's one of those things where that, you know, that's a bridge, and you know, people might not want to think about darker stuff like war, but you can make a connection with people via music.
Yeah.
Let me close that out.
In Germany, most people are deeply upset with Ukraine winning. In Greece, people are not as upset as in Germany. They are just underwhelmed. I really like the song. It doesn't deserve the hate. Okay, Giorgio, I will go even further to say Stefania is just a winning song. If you take away the fact that Ukraine is currently being invaded and is in a war, Stefania is just a good enough song to win Eurovision. And I will argue this point against anyone who's like, oh yeah, like they just qualified or they just won because it's like of the political context. That is, I mean, as much as that could be the truth, there's also a huge portion that is not the truth. It is just a good song.
I agree 100% with that statement. Also, Germany,
you are not the country. You are not the country to try to tell us.
I'm going to leave it at that. I used to listen to a lot of German rap.
Ukrainian music scene is so good. Thank you, Vanya. Thank you, Vanya. No, you know exactly what we mean.
The music scene is excellent, and it's like so diverse, and there's so much like cool stuff happening. So those are the articles we had that were kind of artist features on the site last week. We're going to go into maybe more like some more, what's the word I'm looking for? In-depth articles about other things. So the first is logistical articles is Where the Party At? A Eurovision Contest Without Official Party Destination by Alicia Michelle. And with that article, it discusses the fact that there wasn't really like a EuroClub this year, whereas in previous years there was one. Basically, I think usually what they do is they have like a EuroClub and a Euro Cafe. And the club is like a nightclub, and the cafe is like a cafe, and it's a place where people can go in the downtime who are in press or who are in the delegation, or fans can also go there as well.
Yeah, that didn't happen, and it was kind of okay. So we'll get to the topic of the article that I just put out in a little bit, but kind of piggybacking of what Alicia was saying there. Not only did it seem like the venue space outside of the Eurovision venues was super mismanaged, but it was really unclear what would be happening at those places, and regretfully, there weren't that many places that were playing Eurovision music among all the selected venues that were allotted. So that was very disappointing to come to the city and see that things were not only dispersed, but it was really unclear what the circumstances would be.
And I know they had announced 10 different venues. Like there was going to be 4 cafes, 2 event spaces, a nightclub, and then a shopping center, which is a little interesting there. But it doesn't seem like people were really using those spaces.
No.
And from what I can tell, it looks like people were more congregating at a fan EuroClub that was like a fan club hosted EuroClub instead. And that's kind of where people were having more of a time at. So does that mean like the implication is going to be the EBU doesn't necessarily have official EuroClubs anymore? And it's going to be up to like OGAE or other fan clubs to really be the ones to dominate that space? Or is it just like this is a one-off situation where maybe it was like COVID issues, they didn't want to put a lot of people in one space?
That is my optimistic way of looking at that. Like I really want to say that this is going to be just kind of implications that were only put in place because of COVID, but I can't exactly promise that. And it there's not that much enthusiasm outside the arena, outside of the Eurovillage. There was not a ton of enthusiasm about fans going to places where we could like congregate in a way where we could also listen to Eurovision music. It was really disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's also like the fact that like, in the article it kind of goes over why couldn't there have been a space for press and delegations to kind of mingle then instead, since if you were in the Eurovision bubble, you were getting tested every 72 hours. You're having a COVID test done. So then it would be safer for everybody to have that. So it just seems like there's a lot of little things that I hope it's just a one-off situation. And that, you know, now that we're entering, like at this point, the pandemic's not over, y'all. At this point, I don't know if maybe in future years, once we have it, so there's not as much of a concern about COVID, is that going to resolve issues that were had this year when it comes to these fan spaces?
We can stay hopeful. That's pretty much it at this rate.
Fingers crossed, because it's like, it's just like, that's such a big part of the Eurovision experience. And when you want to go live and experience Eurovision, you want to be surrounded by other Eurovision fans, dancing to Eurovision music and having a good time, like a nonstop party for a week.
Yeah, exactly. That's the expectation.
But yeah, the article will be linked in the description box, so you guys can go ahead and read over it, because it does touch on more things in depth than, you know, what we say here. The next article we are going to be discussing is Eurovision voting patterns. So let's talk about that.
So Sarah has the tea, y'all. Sarah has the tea. So in Sarah's article of Eurovision voting patterns, she actually goes over different facets that could influence, allegedly or not so allegedly, how voting turns out in the contest. She goes over how geopolitics has an influence, if language has an influence, jury voting versus public voting, and how there's a disparity much of the time, and running order, and how that could cause kind of skew in results as well. It's a really fascinating article, so I really suggest that you go in there and check it out.
Well, I want to talk about specifically like when she mentions like block voting and stuff like that, because to me that makes sense. It makes sense that you're going to have like kind of like the way it's divided up is you have a block that I would describe as like countries that touch the Adriatic Sea. So it's like Italy plus half the Balkans. And then you have like a voting block but that makes sense because you can get broadcast, like when it was Yugoslavia, all one country, you could get Italian broadcast in Yugoslavia because the way like terrestrial TV worked. So that does make sense to me. And we have to think about those things where in the grand scheme of things, 30 years isn't that much time. Like 30 years ago,
like a generation or two.
I still listen to music that came out 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So my sister who is 21, she listens to music that came out 30 years ago. My sister who's 21 also has like the weirdest taste in music for a 21-year-old I've ever met. I like to say that's my fault a little bit. But then you have like a voting block of like Northern Europe. And that Northern Europe block, again, makes sense because it's like Sweden, Scandinavia, the Balkans, a lot of Western Europe. Oh, Baltics. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, you're right. The Baltics, Western Europe, and the UK and Ireland. That makes sense to me because, again, the Swedes dominate music production, at least in the English-speaking world. I know they do. Yeah, I'm going to guess they probably do for other parts of Northern Europe as well.
Even Korea to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, Cassiopeia, who was competing at Melfest, she writes K-pop. She also, that's what she does. Or also the fact that, like, I know, I'm going to American Song Contest. I'm holding off on that thought because that did happen. But it's one of those things where, I mean, like, I'm a child of the 90s. 90s Swedish music production, come on, Britney Spears, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Christina Aguilera. Like, because I used to talk to people who go, oh, why do you listen to so much Swedish music? I'm like, you listen to Swedish music too, you just don't know it.
Exactly.
I'm like, name a popular song that came out in the last 30 years. I bet you there's a Swede on the credits. They
got the right studios. They just always have.
Vanya?
Because we share similar music scene and lots of artists that go to EC are popular in the Balkans.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Like, I know like a musician who went to Eurovision who's from the Balkans who I knew prior is like Dino Merlin. Like, I don't think I've met anyone from that region of the world who does not know who Dino Merlin is. I know, robbed. But yeah, like, it's one of those things where you have to think cultural influence as well, because like a lot of like traditional music from these regions sounds very similar.
Bleeds into one another.
Like Moldova, when they send a song that has that Balkan party sound, you'll find people all over the place who are like, oh, that reminds me of this, or that reminds me of that. You know what I mean?
There are parallels.
And it's like one of those things where we have to think of, like, when I think of like cultures, I think of it as a gradient, where you're going to have things that are closer to each other who are more closer similar. But then as you move out further and further away, it gets blurrier and blurrier, but there's still a blend and still similarities that are going to be there. So I think when it comes to block voting, I never really get angry about it because it makes sense to me.
Yeah, like mathematically, it just makes sense.
And like, there's a point where they talk about if language matters or not. Like, yes, juries tend to favor songs that are in English, but let's look at let's go into block voting again and look at language. If you look at who consistently got this year 12s in the Balkans, it was Serbia, because a lot of the countries surrounding Serbia, the language is similar enough that they can understand it without having to look into things. So I think that did happen.
Garbage truck. Oh my goodness. Moldova just proved that everyone would have a fun at a Balkan wedding.
100%.
When I say the stadium got up on their feet all at the same time, that the ground was swaying, Moldova was the reason why. I mean, I used to talk so much like ish about that song, but now I'm just I get it. I get it.
I get it. Like, honestly, one of my favorite things is, like, one of the things I love about where I live is that you can experience so many people from different places here. And I have never had a bad time at a wedding that was not like the only bad weddings I've ever been to were like traditional American weddings. Those are always the most boring things.
City Hall.
It's awful. Like, my cousin got married. He had like a half Puerto Rican wedding, and it was bomb. I'm not gonna lie. We had a good time. And like, I've been to like Indian weddings, which are always bangers. If you ever get a chance, like invited to like a South Asian wedding, go.
Yeah.
This is my advice to you. Just go. Don't question it. Just go. You're gonna have a good time. So yeah. Let me see here. And also with languages, we've seen now in 2020 the top four of the top 5 were native language in 2020.
2021?
No, 2020. Oh yeah, 2021. Oh my gosh, yes, 2021.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know what year it is anymore. It's all blurring together. And then this year, in 2020, the top 3 were all native language. So we're starting to see maybe a break away from preferring songs that are in English to songs that aren't. I'm sorry, this just gave me a moment. I've been to one Greek wedding and it was a banger. Highly recommend that one too.
I still haven't yet, so I'm waiting out for that. Someone Greek who's getting married, please invite me.
There we go. So yeah, like that. Good times. So like, we're seeing now maybe a move away from sticking to a English preferred situation. And then, jury versus public in 2021 and 2019, the jury versus public results were quite different. And even looking at it today, like this year, the jury versus the public results were also quite different. Like, specifically in 2021, Goe only had 97 points from the jury, but 267 from the public.
Got 5th overall, which is incredible.
Yeah. And then we look at, like, for example, Tamara Tovneska won the jury, but ended up becoming 7th overall because with the televote, just there was not much support for her there.
Yeah.
So it's like the juries prefer everything to be, I think, more polished and professional and sleek, whereas the televote is there more for entertainment, I feel.
Which is way more variable. It's way more radioactive, and it has to be hit at the right angle for the public. No one really knows how that's going to go until the voting results are like coming out, and then you're like, okay, so that's how Europe perceived these performances, and that's different every year.
There's podcasts I listen to where the people are very they're Americans who are very casually into, like, they only watch the final, only talk about Eurovision when it comes to the final. And for those ones, like Switched on Pop, they really liked Stefania this year. And they really liked Moldova this year. Another podcast I listen to where super casual they talk about pop music. But when they talked about Eurovision this year, one of the hosts of that podcast was in love with Moldova. He's like, Moldova, because it was the first time he heard that. And he's like, his thing is when he watches Eurovision, he comes to Eurovision for something that he can't get anywhere else. So I don't know if that's common within Europeans who are casually into Eurovision, because I don't really talk to many who are casually into Eurovision. If it's like, oh, you're coming to Eurovision for something you can't get anywhere else, so you're looking for that.
That's a brilliant way of looking at it.
And then the final point was the running order and how that influences it. So you can get a difference, because like at the beginning, songs that are kind of put early in the running order may get forgotten. Like, let's look at the Czech Republic. I think they only had 2 or 3 televotes this year.
Something like that. I remember it being absurdly low. And
they opened the show, and I would think you got the opening slot, you got the closing slot, it'd be better. Like you'd have better results.
Yeah, but that
that's
just
also,
wasn't what was promised.
and it's also what's around it too. Like certain songs can get lost. Like you have two things that are really big happening, and then in the middle, something in the middle there could get lost.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like maybe that might not be the best. And also like the top 6, like I think Destiny was number 6 in the running order last year at the final, and look at her vote,
song number 6, and then landed 7th.
Yeah, like look at her scores with the televote versus her scores with the jury, if that was influenced there as well. And like I'm sorry, that song's great. That song's a solid, well-produced
being
song.
song number 6 was almost definitely a detriment in my opinion of that regard. Like it just didn't feel right.
But yeah, like that's a pretty interesting article that Sarah did, and you can check that one out in the description box as well. So go ahead and give it a read. We just kind of brush over some of the points of the article here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is activism at Eurovision, article written by Alicia Michelle. And this is basically an article about how, celebrities will use their platform to raise their awareness for causes they care about. We have Eurovision too. So Eurovision's meant to be, apolitical.
Sega Beta Ellen, y'all are awesome.
I know, right?
Y'all are incredible for what you did.
Exactly. There's also like a history of protest music that you can't get at Eurovision because you can't protest at Eurovision. The closest thing we probably had to that I can think of off the top of my head were like sneaky versions of it. Like Ukraine's song in 2005, the year they hosted, had a big political movement behind it. But that was kind of restricted just to Ukraine, and it wasn't explicitly political. Also with 2011, Portugal sent like a parody of political songs, and it's like one of those things that no one else got the joke besides Portugal. It took me once a Portuguese person explained it to me, I was like, oh, okay.
But that's like the second time they put their own political context like in Eurovision in a way that was technically still acceptable by the rules. Because remember, like back in, it was like the 60s or 70s.
No. That you're misunderstanding that. That was not, that song has no political undertext to it at all. It was just used in a political situation after Eurovision ended. If you look at there's nothing about that song that's actually political. That's why it actually worked out so well to kind of be a cue, because you don't want something that's going to be obvious.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like that's one of those ones where, I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Yeah, like Greece, 1976. That's another example of one that has a definite political connotation to it. I would say if you want to talk Portugal, maybe even Portugal 1966, you can kind of go political too, because you have to think of like where the government was. Like Portugal was under a dictatorship. And they sent someone who wasn't in line with like what a fascist dictator would be okay with. They sent a black artist that year too. So it's like I can kind of see that political connotation there too. Exactly. So sorry. And so this year, when we have message songs, they kind of have to be about peace, because peace is something that is political. Like I'm Freden. You can use that as a political undertone, but there's nothing about it that's explicitly political, because everyone wants peace, regardless of where they are. And then you have the whole thing of using your platform, like our lovely sisters did this year, where you're using your platform to spread awareness of something, like with them, trans rights was a huge thing that they were pushing, the whole
protecting trans kids.
Exactly, which is very important. And it was nice to see that they were there consistently with that. And you have other entries who've done something similar to that in the past, or not, you know what I mean? Like other entries who've gone through and made sure that they were making sure that, what's what I'm looking for?
That they were
bringing awareness to something that they felt like a topic they felt close to their heart with.
Emma Muscat, yeah.
Oh my gosh, stop! You need to stop roasting that girl. So it was used to cue a coup, not a protest. It was like the actual coup, like thing that happened there. I have a video. I did it. I think
as a cue for protest.
Yeah, I put it in. I had a whole thing I did on that. So yeah, it was like nice to kind of have that. But I mean, with Iceland, it's not like they're a stranger to doing that sort of thing. Like they've consistently been one of those countries that have sent artists who
y'all remember Hatari.
Honestly, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They were one of the ones that
exactly. Thank you, Hatari, because nobody was saying anything.
yeah,
Nobody was saying anything. But
yeah.
we digress.
I mean,
But,
I can go on for hours of my love of Hatari and
mhm.
Hatari related shenanigans.
Hatari just opened a door for all of Iceland forever, I think. So
Yeah, and they got fined. So those are just exactly like Vanya says as well with Portugal. Salvador talked about refugees in 2017,
mhm.
and he was told to take the sweater off that he had on too. Like they were kind of like, you can't be doing that right now, which to me seems silly. It's like, to me, here's my thing when it comes to things like when it comes to trans rights and when it comes to LGBT rights in general, along with anything racial justice related or anything related to women's rights or anything like that. We're not talking about a political situation, in my opinion, with those sorts of things. When we're talking about refugees, we're talking about LGBT plus people, we're talking about people of racial minorities and religious minorities. We're talking about human rights in general. And when I hear that, I don't think that's not a political situation. That is a straight up human rights situation.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
don't like the fact that in a lot of places, a lot of people want to turn that into, oh, you're just pushing politics. No, you're pushing human rights. There's a huge difference between the two. And it's just one of those things that it drives me crazy because I live in the US. And when we're talking about anything concerning any of these topics, it always gets spun into a political situation when it's not. It's
Mhm.
just not. Like someone's right to exist and be happy with their life, like happy in their life and be able to pursue happiness is not up for debate as far as I'm concerned. And I stand very firmly with that belief.
You should make a whole video just on the disparity between politicization versus the prospect of human rights and human liberty. I feel like that's something that we could really, really get into in length.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't really have time for that here, so we're going to go
Not
ahead
not
and
right
go
now, not
over.
right now, but we
So
can.
those are some of the site articles. You want to talk about the one that you just published earlier today, Jordan?
Yes. Okay. So, you guys may have noticed that I was just kind of like popping in and out whenever I could get the time in Turin. It was an insane experience being in the Eurovision city. There was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad, and there was just generally quite a few moments of culture shock. I talk about transportation, I talk about food, I talk about the people, I talk about tattoo culture, Italian culture in general, and just what the entire experience of being in the Eurovision city was like. And I keep it pretty unabridged, so I'm pretty brutally honest toward the EPU and RAI about how I felt like the whole thing went down. It's a really, really, really long article. So if you have like time on your lunch break or something, go ahead and give it a read. I promise I tried to keep things pretty hot. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for reading my stuff in the past. Go ahead and check out that article. I have a lot of discussion about how my time in Turin went, and I would be curious to see what you think.
Yeah, and there'll be a link to that in the description box as well.
Mhm.
1 second here.
And I got my tattoo, guys. It happened. And it hurt. A
Was that on
lot.
your rib cage? Rib cage tattoos hurt, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm actually going to show you guys. So, ta-da! There it is. It's it's so incredibly itchy right now, and it hurts so much. I was about to pass out the entire time, but I got it, and I'm happy, and that's part of my article too. So check it out.
Yeah, 1 second here. My sister was trying to call me. Okay. Sorry, just had to text her. Okay, so let's talk about the American Song Contest then. So it's been so long that we've streamed that we're just now getting to like ASC's finale. So Oklahoma won. We kind of hinted at that earlier. At this point, it's been 2 weeks. Cassiopeia might not have won Melfest, but she won the American Song Contest as a songwriter. Which I want to talk about this because let's just kind of start off with the finale, like the way the show was put together. I liked it a lot. I think that as a finale, it was finally the first time I was watching them. I was like, oh, this is something familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It was very Melfest, but it was very much Melfest semi rather than Melfest heat rather than Melfest finale. And I like that format. I really do think that when it comes to continuing the show onwards, we need to get more of that. because we had the opening act. The opening act was Kelly Clarkson and Snoop Dogg singing and rapping a song. And then we also had an interval act, which was like a country artist they had brought in. It was nice to kind of have that structure because that's really what could be special. Like if you want to do it, like maybe make it like regional situations each week in the future rather than kind of like because we had regional judges when we came through. So maybe if we had like a regional jury that would cover the songs in that region during that semi, I think that could be really interesting to kind of take on. And then have an established act from that region bring up a song to kind of put in as the interval act each week. I think that could be really interesting to kind of do as a take and kind of adjust things. Because at Eurovision, in the semifinals, if you're not in that semi, you don't vote for that song.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe having that with the jury to kind of pull back on the jury having so much sway over the qualifiers, because that's what it seemed like. And when it came to the final, the jury had not that much say at all. The jury only counted for 15%.
Yeah.
15%. So it's like maybe instead of doing that, we don't have the jury having so much sway over the heats and the qualifiers, but they can have 50-50 sway in total at the finale. I think that might be an interesting take on it. But yeah, with the American Song Contest.
Tulsa. Nah.
I'm sorry, I'm having a whole thing.
It's all good. So yeah, you guys, the American Song Contest. I was convinced for a really long time Washington was going to do it. I was convinced pretty much until the day of the final that Washington was going to do it. But because of that massive kind of like televote anchor being lodged right like in the center. Hey y'all.
Keep talking. I'm sorry. I had to go off stream for a second.
It's fine. So yeah. Okay. I don't have the results immediately in front of me, but I thought Washington was going to be taking the victory. And that was mostly because of just kind of how I saw the song. But with Oklahoma winning, I do also see why that happened. It is a pretty well-polished pop song. It does have hints of Swedish production in it. You could tell with Cassiopeia's just kind of touches. And it's promising because the shows prior to this with the heats, we wouldn't see songs qualify like primarily because of the televote. It would always be the jury qualifier, and then it would go into the semifinals and then the final. But with this show, with the final having the televote be such a big portion of it, it kind of just it felt a little strange to see all of that power shift to the televote, but it was also kind of a nice change of pace too, because we got to know that as viewers, our voices were being heard. So yeah, I look forward to the next year of American Song Contest. With a bit of hesitation, but generally, I'm not gonna say that I don't look forward to next year, because if they're still figuring out their kinks, it's whatever. They are working really hard at this.
Yeah, and my thing is also with the way that kind of the jury had such little sway is I don't know how that would feel as an artist that didn't, that doesn't have a huge following and doesn't have like a big situation where they can call on people to kind of come in and vote for them, because it kind of feels really off balance with that. Because, she crushed that televote, absolutely demolished it. And if you're a smaller artist who doesn't have that kind of big fan base to pull off of,
yeah, clearly you need
it's a little disheartening
on like the internet sphere and being well socialized with a fan base in a way that's just like super clear and really quick. Then that's what can carry you to success in the show, not necessarily your prospects like as a performer on stage. It depends on your engagement, and we saw that in force.
Because I think another one that did really well with the televote was Colorado, for example, and they also were kind of an established act with a fan base.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my mouth. I was about to say something. I'm like, you know what? Let me not get in trouble today. Yeah. So yeah, like it's just interesting to kind of see that. So it might be disheartening for people who would want to come in who just have a really good song. But I would like to see, them iron out these kinks and make it work. Also, if you guys are curious who the American Song Contest Martin Oosterdahl is, it's Christy Bergman. He's gonna live his dream.
Yeah. He gets to create his own little world out here.
You know what? Let him.
Let
He's a
him.
great producer. I'm not gonna lie. He's really good at what he does. He's very good at what he does.
He is. He saw getting second to last place at Eurovision 1992 as a moment of like, you know what? I'm going to grab my power back. And look, like 30 years later. I'm so happy Oklahoma won. Alexa was so good. I actually didn't hate Colorado. See, Colorado was popular because Colorado is a polished pop song and it did sound professionally constructed. But in my opinion, it was just a little too Swedish. Like there was just something a little too Swedish for me to personally like it. But he did well, and I hope Riker Lynch continues exploring his musicality just based off of his journey at ASC.
Yeah. So those were our thoughts on the American Song Contest wrap up. Let's wrap up our thoughts about Eurovision, which is why we're all here. So, how should we begin? Should we just start at the start at the end?
Sure. Yeah. Let's go for this.
Ukraine won. So Jordan has a prop. He's gonna pull out. There we go. Ukraine won.
And it's because it's a good song too. And it's because it's a good song too. And I'm not arguing this point anymore. It should just be obvious.
It's been in my top 10 since it was released.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even my favorite song at Vidbeer, but like I love Vidbeer a lot. If you know this about me, it's one of my favorite national finals. Yeah, like I love Vidbeer. So yeah, like you, as far as I'm concerned, it's a worthy winner. Absolutely crushed the televote. They got 439 points from the public.
And the next one down was in the hundreds.
One second. I was gonna say, if you're looking at public vote, the maximum score you can get is 480.
So, okay. They did it. They basically did it. They basically maxed out.
Yeah.
We've had bad winners before. Stefania is not one of them.
No.
You said it, Vanya.
Not even close. Not even close. We've had worse winners in the last 10 years. I'll go with 11 years so we can count that awful one that nobody likes. I would love to meet someone who actually likes that song. I'm so curious.
I convinced myself that I liked it, but that lasted like 2 months.
Honey, no. We're not going to. I'm delusional, okay? I'm out here as soon as I saw Lithuania qualify. I was like, Lithuania's going to win. I thought I was delusional. But that takes the cake there. So, yeah, like Ukraine won, completely swept that public. And they didn't do too bad with the jury. They were still top 10 with the jury there. And then we have the UK came second, which I'm so happy for the United Kingdom coming second.
Yeah, now y'all don't have to be bitter. Now you could show that, yes, when effort is put into things, then there is a good outcome. And not to mention, I mean, like, Sam had a winning performance. He absolutely had a winning performance, and he won the jury and deserved to win the jury. That's that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Sam deserved to crush that jury vote. That song was so good. And it sounds like something you would want to hear from the UK too. That's the thing I like about it the most, because it really does make me think of like Elton John mixed with like a Freddie Mercury-esque vocal.
Yeah. It has that like UK rock heyday kind of accent about it that is just so invigorating. And he brought that energy to the stage, and in a way that was also kind of like uniquely him, and brought his character forward too. So insanely good job, you guys.
And the way the staging was put together as well was very thoughtful, because the song is called Spaceman. So we didn't go literal with that. We went with kind of structures that could be related to the way you put up a rocket. And we went with styling that was based on like a flight suit. It was just nice to see that kind of a thing happening there.
Yeah.
Second here.
UK and Spain were my top two. Giorgio,
and Spain,
you know some things that other people should know.
And Spain came, third.
Llegó la mami, la reina, la dura, una Bugatti. So she changed up the choreography. She changed the vocal runs. She made
the song. I like this arrangement of the song way more than the original arrangement with the horns.
Right? Which was already
It was
perfect.
so much better.
Like, it was already a perfect ensemble all put together, but by the time we saw it on the Eurovision stage, it's like, wow, if you brought this to any year that was just a feather weaker, she would have landslided everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
I will say this, because I've seen some people saying that Chanel did not deserve to do so well because she wasn't singing. Have you listened to the karaoke version of that track? Go listen to if you think that Chanel was not singing live, go listen to the karaoke version of that track, because I want you to go listen to that and then come back and tell me if she was singing live or not.
Well, I mean, just being in the arena and hearing her, that girl was absolutely live. You heard every single breath she was taking.
There's no backing track on the. If you listen to the karaoke version, there's no other vocal on that track.
Yeah, some people are just born to. Some people are just born to pull a Beyonce on stage, and she.
I'm not. Some people work their butts off to pull a Beyonce on stage, because Beyonce works hard. Chanel works hard too. That's what hard work and dedication does for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus and you do your best, because the thing is with Chanel, she's also older. She's like, I think like 32.
Mm.
I say older, but like she's in her early 30s. You wouldn't expect someone in their early 30s to get up on stage and perform the way she did, but she did, and she's been, behind the scenes hustling, doing what she needed to do. Like her voice, yes, like the way,
especially coming after Italy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the way that like the oh gosh, like when she did the dance break, finished the dance break, did that vocal run, and pulled out that fan. I was like, yes, you deserve the fan. You deserve the fan. You just
like that will forever go down in Eurovision history.
Iconic.
For a number of reasons, it was the most iconic thing that happened in a number of categories. Like, yeah. it was something that was perfect, polished into something more perfect. Spain, you in the UK somehow managed to find the silver lining and hang on, because it is fantastic.
Deserved. Keep it up.
Deserved.
I liked Benidorm Fest a lot this year. There was like going back listening to it. There were some real good songs in that lineup. Keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
I want another one next year. I want another one just as good.
Same.
Next year. Y'all, like, yeah. In UK, see, no one hates you. This could be your reset year. This could be the UK going back to the way it was back in the 90s and earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It just.
Like, this was never a Brexit thing, you guys. Like, your result was never a Brexit thing. You just never tried.
Well, before Brexit, they were blaming the Iraq War.
Oh.
That was it, because when Gemini came last,
yeah,
they blamed that on the Iraq War, because that was 2003. And the year prior, they came third. And then they sent Gemini. No, it was just a mess. And then you guys kept being messy. And then let's look at 2009. 2009, the UK came fourth, with Jade Ewan and what's his name? Andrew Lloyd Webber. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. I am so sorry to my Phantom of the Opera poster I'm currently looking at. Yeah, like that. It was good. And then the next year you guys sent, that sounds good to me. Like, it was just,
yeah.
Let's look at what you guys do.
And
don't
here's
follow.
The thing. UK, you're at the fork in the road once again, where you did really well. Just continue to take the correct road, because you've hit the fork, and we've seen what happens when you go the wrong road down this fork in the road.
Also, like right now, the two, like Sam Ryder is kind of battling out with Harry Styles of all people to have the number one song in the UK this month, which is like insanity to me. Which is. That's good. That's good. To me,
no one needs another summer of watermelon sugar. Like, come on. Like, let's move on. Let's move on to some Sam Ryder type tracks, because he's so good. His music is so good.
Honestly, because the UK dominates the music industry worldwide still.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, seeing after the contest, him having so much success, I mean, it's only been a week, but seeing him have, battling out for the top song in the UK, that to me says, hey, as a future artist, if I'm looking to possibly do Eurovision next year, then I'm not going to be left in the dust if I have a good song with the good backing to it. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one on accident there.
Vanya and Georgios, y'all, exactly. No, he came number 2 in the British charts, which is incredible, and he has an amazing song. the UK, they know the formula. They know the formula on how to do well. It's just they don't always commit to it. I really hope they don't get too cocky and think that they didn't have a winning strategy this year and then abandon it. I can't be married to that worry though. I just look forward to what they send next year.
Exactly. I really do want to see that the UK improves over time here.
10 million people watched in the UK.
Wow. Other ones I wanted to hit on as far as the final goes. Italy broke the host country curse, but we knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that performance was really good. It was really incredible. The thing is, it's just like, it's so strange that like the Blanco and Mahmoud dynamic, I didn't think it like, okay, so at San Remo, I was like, okay, this is like weirdly romantically tense, and the way they're just like performing and like touching up on each other, it's like I'm confused because of what the song sounds like. Mm-hmm. That confusion bled into their performance at the jury final and what I saw at like the grand final. Like Blanco, who was like
the dinosaur walk, like he was pretending to dinosaur
walk. Like they came on stage just wanting to have fun. Like they did not give a damn. They really just wanted to come on stage and just like cartwheel around, like play with their clothes and just twirl. And that's what they did. Is
that what that was, or was that Blanco? Blanco was there for a good time.
90% of it was Blanco. 90% of it was Blanco. Like if you never heard Brividi, if you absolutely never heard that song and then watched that performance, you'd be like, hey, this has to be a bop.
Watch it on mute.
Watch it on mute and tell me what you think that song sounds like if you've never heard that song. I would love to know the conclusion you come to.
I mean, we were joking when they won San Remo that we need to make sure that Blanco has a babysitter the whole time, because who knows what he might do. I'm just happy he didn't end up in the fountain.
I mean, he ended up in one fountain at one point in Turin. Like on the street or something. He like
yeah, that was gonna happen. I was talking about like in the stadium.
Oh, like the stage fountain, like
yeah.
the water feature.
At this point, I'm just impressed he did not end up in that water feature. I know we all could have loved it for our Fanta Eurovision points, but
I mean, he came
we just have to be thankful. We have to be thankful that didn't happen. Also, like, I love the fact that like when people were complaining about the rehearsal, they're like, we were hungry, which is a mood. Is an absolute.
I mean, mood. Even Constructa said like, "There's no food. Like, make more food available, Eurovision." And it's just like, no, y'all are at the right state of mind.
Oh yeah, no, gotta make sure people's tummies are happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. With a copy of the San Remo performance, I could have seen Italy coming second or third, or at least the top 5. Mm-hmm. You know what? 7th is not anything to sneeze at.
I thought it was 6th.
7th? Is it 6th or 7th?
I believe it's 6th.
It might be. It's 6th. It's 6th. I'm dumb and I can't read.
Honestly, I do feel like the entire top 7 had a gunning shot at winning. That it does include Italy.
Moldova was 7th. That's it. Moldova was 7th. That's the next one I wanted to talk about was Moldova.
Oh yeah. The crazy Moldovan televote poll that.
We knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen the moment I heard the song. I remember when that song came, like when it was, this is the song Moldova is going to send. I'm like, oh, they're going to do really well at the televote and they're going to come top 10 again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's the best score that this band is also. No, wait, isn't. They came 6th.
Secret. Like, only Moldova can pull this off.
No one else can. Like, and I don't really want anyone else to do it.
No.
I want this to be Moldova's thing. Like, that's kind of my biggest issue with, like, Sugar and, like, Prison. I'm like, no one wants this from you, Moldova. Absolutely nobody wants this.
People want my lucky. Oh, okay, 2018. I already forget the title of that song, but people
want Lucky Day. Yeah.
My Lucky Day. Yeah. People want big, cheesy, party, fun nonsense. That's what they come to Eurovision for a lot of the time. But not just that. There's some good songs. They are some great songs, actually.
Hora Den Moldova is a banger. I will fight you if you do not like that song. Like, their 2009.
That song should have scored way higher than it did.
Absolutely. They only got 1 out of 12, and it was from Romania. But they deserved more. What's not like it's like when Moldova sends like something upbeat and fun like this, we love it. Like the only time I can think of a Moldovan entry I really, really love that did not have this kind of chaotic Moldovan sound to it, it was Omi. Like Omi, oh,
But
immaculate.
they can do art pieces too. That basically displays that they have the capacity to do something more serious and more vocally prominent. We don't talk about prison.
1 second here. Sugar could have been bonkers on stage, could have, but it wasn't.
Literature thought it was great and gave it 10 points.
Sugar, if they would have had dancing ice cream cones, I would defend Sugar.
But no, you know what they had? They had the Danish staging. They had the same bisexual lighting staging as like 7 other acts.
Denmark, Poland, Moldova, like just so many countries had that bylighting, and a lot of countries had bylighting this year too. But I'm seeing a lot more with black and white.
Yeah, they didn't twist it back into like the pink and blue as much as Rotterdam did. That like Rotterdam, that was a choice, but. Yeah, there was definitely more black and white this year. Which, I mean, for a lot of the songs, it was a great contrast, great compliment. Like, for example, Lights Off and Brividi, having those color characteristics, I feel like really complemented their stages.
Okay, yeah, 1 second here.
Moving along down the list, though.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about the semis here real quick. I am so sorry I'm having...
Oh, good. Life happens sometimes, y'all. Whether or not you stream or not, life still happens. And you know what we got to do? Roll with the punches and listen to Eurovision.
Yeah, so let's talk about Semi 1. So with the Semi 1 results, was there anything that didn't qualify or anything you wanted to talk about specifically concerning Semi-Final 1?
So I was the only person holding a Croatian flag that I saw. Like there were thousands of people in that arena. I saw maybe one other Croatian flag at the front in the courtyard of the Palo Alpitour, and then never again. I was the only person holding the Croatian flag. And we were also the only group holding one of the Albanian flags. It did not turn out to be a great results night, despite the performances being absolutely fantastic. And also, LPS, I'm here to support you 100%. Y'all were incredible.
My sons, my children, my Slovenian children.
Y'all keep going. Y'all keep making music. It was incredible, fantastic, awesome job.
That one's for you.
Croatia was robbed. The performance was so sweet. Vanya, thank you. Also, I'm so happy she switched to Netko Drugi, which is the Croatian version of Guilty Pleasure, like after the bridge. I'm sad, but I knew it was going to happen. I mean, like, I talk all the time about how I defend these songs that are, like, non-qualifiers, and it's like, I want them to do well. I know they're not going to. But I fight for them because you know what? They're still good. LPS should have qualified. They should have.
They came last, not to me.
Why? No, there's definitely someone in that semi who I feel like could have more deservedly come last.
Yeah, no, that semi, they came last. Here's the thing, with Albania not qualifying, I get it though. Like if it was based off the song alone, I would have had her in my final. But just that stage did not marry well with the song. Like the staging of the song, there was a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue I had was with the lighting and the costume choice they made. It was like the lighting and the costume choice was too light for that song, because that song, my sister's like, is she trying to do a dance hall song? And once I heard like that's it, there's like disconnect there, because like the choreography and the song itself and the way she vocalized certain parts of the song give me dance hall vibes. That staging gives me teeny bopper pop vibes. There's nothing wrong with with either thing, but they don't mesh well together.
And you have to have a cohesive final product in order to qualify at Eurovision in a practical sense.
And there wasn't that cohesion there. But Croatia did come 11th. And she was a jury qualifier. So if it was 100% jury, she would have qualified.
Let it be known. Let it be known that it almost happened.
But if it was 100% televote, Albania would have qualified.
Well, I mean, like, because it's a party song that you open
Yeah.
with, and it's still a fantastic number. Like, I mean, the staging was definitely disjointed from the carryover of the song, but dang, it's still a really, really good song. There were a number of surprise non-qualifiers in semi one, including Austria too. That was really fun.
Mm.
I mean, in the stadium, it sounded okay. Disco is one of my most played songs this year.
I highlighted this for myself. Disco is my number 2 song of the year still. I don't care. Actually, Disco went down to number 3 after we got live performances. But yeah, no, Disco was absolutely one of my favorites. I listen to it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. When it comes to like Austria, I see why it didn't qualify. But at the same time, yeah. I see why Austria didn't qualify. But then Latvia is kind of my one that I'm like looking at like, is it just that people all went for like Ukraine, like the televote all went for Ukraine and Norway? And that's why we didn't see Latvia qualify?
There are hints of that being like the truth. I haven't like looked into the delineated points of everything yet.
Like I looked at the points and like Latvia did better with the jury than they did with the televote. If you're curious.
Song number 2.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I thought it was like I thought that the energy was good enough that they would have made it through and it was like enough color. I honestly don't know.
It was good. Like that was a great performance actually.
Yeah, maybe
everyone in the arena said the word right on cue.
Yep.
It was just how it should have been. There was no more polishing that the performance needed, I think. It was the best that it was supposed to be.
Yeah. So yeah, that's semi 1. I'm just looking over other ones from like semi 1.
Portugal and Greece. Oh my God. Nothing could have emotionally prepared me for those. I was a wreck, you guys. I was an absolute wreck. Those were such perfect numbers in my opinion.
So out of my top 10, the only song I lost in semi 1 that was in my top 10 was Slovenia. Everything else I had in my top 10 made it through. And I was like, when I heard like Iceland, I saw Portugal, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm okay with losing Slovenia because I got Portugal, I got Iceland, I got, Greece, I got like all these sad girls who made it through.
Sad girl summer. It is sad girl summer.
Let's all cry. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm a crier. I mean, if I cry, I'm going to lose a contact lens. That's happened before.
Taste. Those results were taste.
Like, honestly, and let's go from results that were taste to the results that made me, let me rephrase that. So when we were watching semi 1, the first thing I tweeted when I got Switzerland qualified, I was like, oh, I feel like these results are going to make me angry. I spoke too soon because other than that, I was really into all the qualifiers.
I need to go back and like look at the list of qualifiers again because it was.
Do you want me to read them to you?
Yes, it was a fever dream, you guys. Being in there, that doesn't feel like you're actually there. It feels like you're in a simulation. Qualifiers.
Okay. Ukraine. No, this is an order, 1st to 10th. Ukraine, Netherlands, Greece, Portugal, Armenia, Norway, Lithuania, Moldova, Switzerland, and Iceland.
Lithuania too, girl.
Yeah, I was so happy. I was so happy.
That was perfection.
I was so happy. Monica did that. She was absolute perfection. Also looking through that list here, like I said, like I'm happy with what we got because most of my favorites made it through. The only one I kind of looked at like what was Switzerland. But here's the other thing, because this is the first time we've had, because like last year and like the last couple of years, when countries miss out on qualification, they're missing out on like 1 or 2 points. Yeah. Like 2018, 2019, and 2021 were like that. With this year, there's a good space of like 20 points between Croatia and Iceland. So, yeah, it was more definitive than it has been previously. Yeah.
I'm just sad that Mia wasn't included in the sad girls. Portugal's becoming a silent powerhouse. I love everything about that performance. Portugal is one of the best countries in Eurovision in general.
She shot up. Portugal shot up my like when we got the rehearsal footage, she shot up in my ranking. Like she went from like lower to like 3rd
in the jury. That is incredible. 5th in the jury and then 9th overall.
it seems like a lot of artists at Eurovision also really liked her song too.
She was popular among just the artists that were competing against her. Everyone loves Soldado Soldado.
And if you live in North America, you can get tickets to see her live. I'm going to see her in September.
I'm going to see her in October, I think. So
there we go. So you can all get Maro tickets if you live in North America. And then let's see here. Okay, that's it. Let's move on to Simi 2. Simi 2. Let's go ahead and I'll read off the qualifiers in order from first to last, or first to 10th. So the winner of the Simi, to no one's shock, was, say it with me, Sweden.
Yep. There it was. We all saw.
We knew it was going to happen. Like, there was no one else who could have won that Simi, and she won the televote and she won the jury.
Deservedly so. I mean, it like her Melfest replication. It was just, she knows how to interact with the crowd. That's at the very baseline. That on top of amazing staging and a gorgeous song. Sweden had the right package. Of course, she was had the chance to win the semifinal.
And then we have Australia. That vocal, understand 100%. Serbia, 100% get why that
icon of a lifetime.
The Czech Republic.
That was insane. I used to hate that song, you guys. I remember I used to hate that song, but
you were wrong.
No, I was wrong. I was so painfully, incredibly wrong.
Here's my question: did you hate the song because you preferred something else in the national final?
Yeah.
That's called bitter. That's called being bitter. Here's my thing. I also preferred, I would say in that, I think they were my second or third in that national final. But I really like the song still. I'm not going to lie. ESCZ, fantastic. I think it's a great national final, especially if you don't have enough for a TV production. Do it as music videos.
Yep.
Yeah. I listened to all the songs from ESCZ still. I really like that national final. Let's see here. Estonia.
Yep.
Makes sense. Poland. Which, I'm sorry, people finding Achman's Twitter account has been sending me for the last couple of days.
Just the sheer amount of content that people were able to receive from that. He's been online for such a long time, y'all. Like you.
I keep forgetting he's as young as he is. He's young.
How old is he again?
He's in his early. He's younger than you.
Yeah, I thought he was 21 or 20, something like that.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's that young. Now, but I think he's got one of those faces. If he shaves, he looks like a baby. I bet you that's what it is. Yeah. He's someone who has to have facial hair. Sorry. After Poland, Finland was 7th.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I can complain about it, but I'm not going to.
I mean, it was exactly what I thought it was gonna look like. Nothing was really.
I was surprised they decided to channel it at the beginning of the national. Belgium.
Belgium.
I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked. Here's my thing with Belgium. It's the song itself, I'm not into. And I like Jeremy, but I think he deserves a better song.
Yeah.
I'm happy he qualified, but that staging was Belgian staging. He deserved better staging, and he deserved a song with better production.
Yeah. Yep.
Romania was kind of a shock for me.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that one. But then again, Yamame gets in your head, and it doesn't leave. You're going just
it's a hook. It has a crazy hook, you guys, and that's exactly what carried him.
Yeah, and he looked really uncomfortable, I think, in Simi 2, but in the final, he looked way more confident.
Yeah, I think he was just nervous about qualifying, maybe.
Yeah, and he deserved it. And someone else already pointed this out, but our 10th qualifier was Azerbaijan. Where is the comment at I saw earlier? Did it get deleted? It got deleted. No. Georgios, why did you delete that comment? Oh, no, there it is. I found it.
So, yeah, you like how the public really had no say in the fact that was going to happen? You like No. As a matter of fact, nobody liked. Nobody liked because there was 0 televotes.
So I mentioned I listened to another podcast that talks about Eurovision kind of briefly. One of the women they had someone come in as a guest host. This it's called Song versus Song is the name of the podcast, and they do a yearly Eurovision review. And the two hosts had invited a lady who's in the Eurovision fandom more. Or they invited, I'm sorry, not. So they invited someone who's in the Eurovision fandom more than they had previously. And they said, I like how none of you guys mentioned Azerbaijan when I asked about your opinions. Like, no one's mentioning Azerbaijan because no one has a thought about Azerbaijan. Like, it's vocally, it's there. It's a great vocal performance, but that's it. The staging was nice too, but
even that is like, come on, like there was no tickling the imagination, really. It was just kind of 3 minutes that we were waiting for something to happen that didn't come.
And then knowing what happened, like looking at what happened with these juries. Here's my thing. How do I phrase this? Azerbaijan. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. They have been pulling something. You know what I mean? Like we've been saying for a while that there's some results that they get that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now we have evidence of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say other than like I don't like it personally. I don't think most people don't like it. And there are other countries who do play into it. But like just bring us a good song. And ultimately when you do that sort of thing, because there's other juries who did that kind of behavior. We'll talk about some of their songs here coming up. Ultimately, you're just making it look like it's insulting to the artist that you're choosing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's saying to them, I don't think you're good enough. And that's not fair to that artist. No artist deserves that.
No, and especially not Nadir, because he worked so hard to
exactly
make sure that his performance was polished, and it was.
He did what he needed to do. He went up there. His voice is amazing. He did that song wonderfully. But like I've been saying consistently, the song is not, his voice deserves a better song. He's like Jeremy. His voice deserves a better song.
Agreed.
So that's that. As far as who came 11th, North Macedonia. So if it was up to the televote, if it was up to the jury, North Macedonia would have qualified. And if it was up to the televote, Cyprus would have qualified. And that's where we're going to lead in to talk about a little bit about Cyprus, know how you really like that one.
Yeah. I loved the staging. I loved the fact that people were on their feet in the arena dancing to Ella, but I heard the vocal.
Yeah.
And there was nothing, I could not do anything to shake that. And yeah, I just kind of had a sinking feeling after the performance. I was like, it's less of a possibility than I'm expecting. And then the 10 qualifiers were announced, and I was just like, well, here I am again, like holding this non-qualifier flag. But the difference is I'm appearing on the Eurovision TV screen now. So, hey, y'all. It was... I'm happy with the fact that we got the song Ella, and that song is in the Cypriot lineup forever for Eurovision entries. It deserved way more than the vocal performance that it got, the song. And not to mention, Andromache's energy was just kind of lax. Her energy seemed kind of low, and not that she was completely there. Didn't love that, especially for my winner. Didn't love that.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm kind of in the same situation with that. I mean, here's my thing though. I'm one of those people who a bad vocal, as long as it's not distractingly bad, doesn't bother me. I wasn't bothered by the vocal that we got from Cyprus personally, because I was entertained the whole time.
Well, I mean, visually it was spectacular. It was one of my favorite stagings, and I thought like it was so well executed, the choreography and all that. But yeah, I had a certain idea of what I thought it was going to be, and typically Cyprus can fill can fill in that space with something that even exceeds my expectations. And I didn't receive that.
Yeah, no, I feel similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel similar to that. I just want to kind of highlight some comments here.
Renato, yeah. Yeah, all reason to be heartbroken, because that song is a summer jam that is just going to be left in the dust of Eurovision, just like Halo, for all y'all people who were standing Austria as hard as you were. But that's the contest. The problem is, Panic will get this wrong. We Greeks know them. Now they will never send something risky again and go with El Diablo every year. That's eerie. That's a really eerie way of thinking, but I do see. Well, I mean, like, Oniromu was the last time we went for something like intentionally Greek in a historic kind of mythological sense. After that didn't do well, we abandoned that notion, and then Cyprus was the next one to kind of like carry that back over. But you're probably right. I do feel like there's going to be like another 5 years of pop following this, and pop as in like something that you could very easily hear from Sweden, because they have a bitterness toward bringing the national identity within the music forward, and that it's just really saddening to me, because Cyprus is one of the most unique and incredible countries in the contest, in my opinion.
Now let's talk about some other non-qualifiers.
Okay.
Who do we want to bring up first? Do you want to bring up, who should we bring up first? Brooke, maybe? No. Let's start with Brooke, maybe.
So Brooke,
what else did she have to do? She sounded perfect. She looked perfect. That staging was fantastic.
There was nothing that went wrong. There was nothing that went wrong. I thought she was certain. I thought she was a lock, especially after seeing that performance.
You were there.
I was there. I was literally there, you guys, and she sounded way better than I ever have seen on screen prior to that. Like, she was ready to go. She was ready.
Yeah. I'm still upset. I'm still upset. Oh, Brooke, what else did she have to do? Like,
Fade to black.
You know what? Out of the non-qualifiers, I was upset with. She's the one who didn't have a delegation or a broadcaster who was playing around with voting patterns. Unlike my beloved Achille Lauro, not qualifying. Number one, if the juries were not playing around like they played around, he would have came 11th, not 14th. 14th is the result he had in the end.
Out of those 18
Brooke
songs,
came 15th.
Okay, like that just is not right. You guys,
Would you like to guess who came 18th?
Okay, I'm gonna guess who came 18th. No, I can't think of it. Tell me.
Georgia. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I see. I saw it coming.
Ireland
like once they not qualified, it made sense.
The performance, it was kind of a trip, Georgia, and a trip like not in a good way, as in like it's my uncle's funeral and I was unwittingly given like LSD against my will.
When we're done with the stream, I have to tell you about a funeral. But yeah, winning again with San Marino, I was entertained thoroughly.
That was also a perfect performance in the arena. It was.
I imagine
top 10. I thought a top 10 finish.
I imagine the arena went wild. And you're in Italy. How was the arena not going to go wild?
Oh, there were so many Italians in there who knew every word to the song.
Yeah.
Every word to the song. And we were all ready and jumping up and partying. And by the time that bull, like, Eurovision history, y'all. It was Eurovision history.
Roberta is her name. If you want to know, Roberta is her name. And you know what? I don't think this is the last time I'm ever going to see him at Eurovision. I can see him coming back for Italy one day.
For Italy, for San Marino, for Monaco, if it is actually.
I wouldn't go back to San Marino if I were him after what they're the whole broadcaster messing around with points did.
That's so ugly. That was so ugly.
It's just, to me, it's insulting to the artist more than any, like, number one, we don't cheat. Cheating is bad, but it's insulting to the artist, because to me it's saying, I don't think you're good enough.
Yeah. When it's just like, take a look at Achille Lauro. There's a reason why he's one of the like biggest icons in Italian music, and it's because his art is immaculate. He creates a type of art that I don't really see anyone else doing.
He's
in the
an
Italian music
artist.
scene.
Here's
A
the
very
thing.
unique artist.
I can't think of another artist who, like, the only other artists I can think of who do anything similar to what he does are all in Japan. And even then, the genre that he makes me think of is like basically a dead genre. But Dear and Grey is coming back. They got an album coming out soon. I'm just like, yes. If you like metal and just people being over the top, I highly recommend that band. But yeah, like, so Simi 2, those were what happened with Simi 2. Was there anyone else you wanted to talk about?
Not off the top of my head, because generally I would say I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, other than the fact that Cyprus was disappointing.
I mean, like, I don't really have any, how do I phrase this? I see why things went the way they did, except for Belgium. It was weird to have them go through. Yeah.
It was weird.
Yep, but that's that. Kind of ending on a downer note. That was our weekly stream. We're not streaming next week though.
Yeah, we're changing schedule up just a tad, you guys. So it'll be every other week, from what I understand.
I don't know yet. I just know that we're looking at every other week instead of every week for the summer months, just because
it's downtime.
It's downtime. Also, I'm out of town next week, and I'm going to be in a car. So I don't know if you guys really want to listen to me streaming from a vehicle.
If need be, I could be hosting the stream and invite someone else from the site to kind of just talk about topics, because I mean, there's no shortage of topics about Eurovision. Like with the Eurovision season happening or without it happening, there's always discourse, and that's something that we can always look forward to talking about.
And that's the great thing about Eurovision Fam. If you haven't gone to EurovisionFam.com, because we do explore articles that, we can look into the nitty-gritty of numbers and the cultural impact of Eurovision. And that's what makes us different from a lot of Eurovision sites, is because we're here for the discussion.
We're here for the implications, the greater question about where Eurovision fits in the world.
Exactly. And with that being said, check out EurovisionFam.com. If you enjoyed the stream, like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're here for that talking. I'm always in the comments.
We will see you guys again very soon. I got the Eurovision Rosé. No one can take this from me. As a matter of fact, stop looking at it.
My merch, I got the vinyl and I got the posters. I'm like reworking the room I'm in, so we'll put the posters up one day. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Right. And remember, all the articles and everything are linked down below, so check those out. Bye.
Love you. See you next time. Bye.